Today's a really exciting day. It's the culmination of the Young Lawyers program, which is a program that Loyola Law students put together for high school students to teach them about trial and trial advocacy.
It's the battle of wits that are smarter than them.
I had the amazing privilege, is what it was, to work with students and prepare them for trial day today. We got to work on motions and objections, opening and closing, all of those details about trials, and really work together.
Did you seek any medical attention for your son? No. No. All right. Thank you. Oh, no further questions.
One of the reasons we love this program is that it really gives us an opportunity to invest in students in a high school, but to bring them into the law school setting, to teach them really what the power of the law might be, to teach them how they might be able to exercise their own rights, and hopefully to provide a pathway to law school, whether it be Loyola Law School or another.
So today I am a defense attorney, so I will be giving the direct examination to one of my witnesses, and I'm also a witness.
It's incredibly fulfilling to be able to work with these students face to face every single week and to be able to see their growth, their development.
Do you swear the evidence that you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I'm just so impressed with our students and with the focus of the school on the social justice mission, which I think comes together perfectly with the Young Lawyer program.
Young Lawyers really is an embodiment of the law school's mission statement, which in part says we should be reaching out and serving the community and underserved communities.
Dr. Hudson knew his age and said he hired him because of it.
When students are exposed to this stuff early on, they have successful futures, brighter futures. They know their rights.
State your name for the record.
My name is Casey Watson.
High school students, you are amazing today. I felt your passion and your civility together, and it just came through. You were prepared, and it was just beautiful.
By having the law students mentor the high school kids, they're role modeling and showing them what's possible.
We need more people to be advocates for others, and we need more people who are willing to kind of roll up their sleeves and do the work that needs to be done.
I definitely think that some of our young lawyers today will become real lawyers in the future from this program.
The need the displaced population has is overwhelming. It's amazing that the Jesuits are focusing in these kind of projects.
It's a clinic that provides holistic representation to migrants in transit, to deportees, and to returnees, including legal services, education, and other community support.
I'm very interested in this position because it was a binational project. It was unique. It's the first one by its nature. So I'm able to provide legal services to refugees, asylum claims, and migrants in Mexico and also in the US side. So it's amazing.
Seeing all the work being done firsthand, not only here in Los Angeles, but in Guadalajara and in Mexico, speaks volumes to the work that's being done to give migrants a chance for a better life.
So Los Angeles has the highest number of Mexican nationals out of Mexico, most of which come from the state of Jalisco. So those who have been deported or have returned here in Jalisco, the majority of our former LA residents or lived in Southern California. And so as we started doing this work and providing services here, it was obvious that there was a strong connection between our two cities, and it was important for us to do this work. My hope is that this really becomes an example for future collaborations that can be done between institutions. I always say that as U.S. policies go beyond borders, we as advocates must do so, and it's important that not just Loyola and ITESO do this work, but that it's replicated by other institutions.
I think this is a very strategic collaboration because we can take advantage of all the Jesuit networks that are present in Mexico and throughout all of Latin America. So we can bring this act of service, especially now that the migrant community is under attack. We are setting a foundation to serve people in Mexico and how to, again, not erase these people from the conversation once they are deported. We're trying to work in the community in Mexico using our community model so that we learn from the needs there and address those needs directly.
One of my hopes for the future of BMAP is that people whose rights have been violated or who were not aware of their rights while in the United States can have those rights implemented, benefits that they're eligible for afforded to them. I hope that families can be reunited. I hope that people who are fleeing persecution can have a safe haven. I have endless hopes for BMAP, and I think that they're all achievable.
It's very rewarding to be able to transmit the passion of social justice and to help other vulnerable population with the students. It's also can be challenging because we know it's frustrating, the work we do. So we need to face this sides of the coin, but I think it's really nice to be able to just transmit how it feels to help others, and mainly people that are just seeking for protection and to have a better life.
This is a project that truly is necessary given current times and is also meant to make a huge impact on the rights of the immigrant community.
Welcome to LMU Loyola Law School, located in the heart of downtown Los Angeles. My name is Paul, I'm a student ambassador here, and we're going to take you on a tour of campus.
We are here at Robinson Courtroom, where I had my first year evening class. I remember I sat over there. I still remember the advice that I got from the fourth year evening students. If you can pass through Professor Pratt's class, then you can make it through any class here at Loyola Law School.
We are in front of the William M. Raines Library, which is a space I really enjoy on campus. So I spend a lot of time in here borrowing books from the library, but also doing my homework.
I'm here at the Chapel of the Advocate. Loyola is a Jesuit institution, but one of the foundational pillars of the Jesuit order is the service of faith and the promotion of justice. This is an interfaith space. We have a diverse campus population in terms of religious and spiritual belonging.
I'm currently standing in front of Founders Hall. Founders Hall houses a lot of Loyola social justice law clinics. I am a part of the Juvenile Innocence and Fair Sentencing Clinic, which is housed on the second floor. We're actually in the waiting area where a lot of clients come in to wait for various clinical students, staff, and other attorneys. This is where a lot of students come in too, and we go and meet our professors. We go meet to work on our cases, and we come and meet our clients.
This is Donovan Hall. This is where I had my criminal law class with the one and only Lori Levinson. She's a brilliant political pundit and professor. You get what you think you'll get in law school in this class.
This is the Esplanade. This is where Loyola meets the world. This is where we hold networking events and have employers come in, talk to students. And if you just want to hang out here, that also works too.
We are here at Hall of the 80s. I actually enter this room for employment law. My seat is right here. And what's crazy about it is I'm going to be an employment lawyer this time next year after I pass the bar.
I'm just gonna go and relax and enjoy life a little bit. Just look at the sights. I haven't seen anything for 40 years.
LPI has freed dozens of people who have served over 500 years in prison for crimes they did not commit. We are the last resort. We are the last hope.
It's work that I think holds up the best of what the law can be. To give a voice to the voiceless, to folks who are often not just ignored, but hated.
Our clients are people who are going to die in prison unless we are able to get them out.
They're not just ordinary people who shouldn't be warehoused. They are amazing people. They are the resilient, strong, smart, creative people who survive something like that. You know, just getting to us is an amazing story of survival.
I would describe Loyola's Project for the Innocent as a small but mighty, essentially law firm, law school clinic. And our mission is pretty simple: to free the innocent, to train our students on how to do this work and to practice law the right way, and to prevent future injustice.
LPI's work is just so important. Just the way that it utilizes this humanistic connection to make change, like we're really doing the work and getting to know these people.
We don't find the people who need our help, they find us. We get about 600 to 800 letters a year. So we read all those letters, the students read all those letters, we investigate, and then we focus on the cases where we can actually help.
Our clinic really prides itself on taking the more complicated, complex cases that require us to go out into the streets of Los Angeles and develop new evidence. It may not be a quick forensic test. Really what we try to do and teach our students to do is learn how to connect with human beings and uncover what they weren't truthful about at trial sometimes, or what the truth is.
I came to law school because I had a passion to help those that have been wrongfully convicted. And I particularly came to Loyola Law School to be a part of this clinic and get hands-on experience helping those in need.
It makes you feel that you are making a difference. It is more than just a clinic, more than just schoolwork. It's real life, it's real people. You're dealing with these individuals' lives and you're giving them their lives back.
Witnessing an exoneration firsthand is one of the most powerful things that I've ever seen in my entire life, and that's a feeling I'll never forget.
We just had an exoneration of Kelvin Fuller. He spent 40 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. The moment when the judge declared him factually innocent and he can finally open up that courtroom door and walk out and see his family there and embrace them as a free person, not as a convicted felon, there's nothing better than that.
Well, you know, 12,338 days.
Hard time.
Yes. Just thank God I'm still here. They're doing things that can change someone's life. And that's what it's all about, you know, getting to the truth of the matter.
Aside from the cases that we work on, we've also done a lot in the policy area, and we've been able to help to create and help to pass several bills in the legislature that have really helped our clients and helped people in California to do post-conviction work.
Our motto since Professor Levinson started this clinic is there are no disposable people. And to really effectuate that is my goal by making sure everyone who writes to us, guilty or innocent, gets a response and is listened to and heard, that their cases are taken seriously. That requires organization, it requires commitment, it requires resources, because we get up to 800 letters a year.
That's the ultimate goal of becoming an advocate, being a lawyer, is to bring hope to places in our world where there isn't any.
We do believe that the system has made mistakes and that there are innocent people serving their whole lives behind bars, and that's not justice. So that if we have the ability to help them, that's exactly what we want to do.
I'm Bree Clark, Dean of LMU Loyola Law School. For nearly 25 years, I've been part of this community of extraordinary scholars and teachers, compassionate staff, and committed, creative, and bold students. At Loyola, we engage the law with creative thought and deliberate action as we prepare you and your classmates to not only shape your own future, but also to shape the law and our justice system. Our faculty are groundbreaking scholars who wrestle with big theory, teachers who bring the law to life in the classroom, and practitioners who prepare you to do work that is relevant, allowing students to grow resilient and practice-ready together. With over 40 diverse student-led organizations, Loyola Law School creates a culture that prioritizes respect and collaboration. The connections you form here will become the foundation of your lifelong relationship with the Loyola family, including our alumni network of over 21,000. We create abundant opportunities for you to be challenged, keep learning, and to do good work. This is the work we're made for, the work of the ready. Ready to do the work that calls to you, ready to shape your future, ready to move justice forward. Our extraordinary alumni started where you stand now. This is what we at Loyola are made for, to make an impact together.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to welcome you to Loyola Law School's commencement exercises. We share with you great pride in the accomplishments of this year's graduates. Starting the commencement procession is the mace bearer and Grand Marshal, Marjorie Williams, class of 2009. Welcome the graduating class of 2026, led by the Student Body Day President, Jonathan Hay, and Student Body Evening President, Thomas Anderson. Welcome candidates for the Master of Science in Legal Studies. Master of Laws in Taxation. Master of Laws. Juris Doctor and Master of Laws in Taxation. Juris Doctor and Master of Business Administration. Doctor of Juridical Science and candidates for Juris Doctor. Will graduates take their seats? Welcome to our alumni presenters. Presenters are graduates of Loyola Law School and a parent, grandparent, uncle, and sibling or spouse of a graduate to whom they will present the diploma. Welcome to the outstanding faculty of Loyola Law School, which is led by the 2026 Excellence in Teaching Award recipients, Professor Amy Motomura and Professor Catherine Pratt, followed by the David P. Leonard Memorial Faculty Service Award recipient, Professor Nadine Tan. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the members of the Platform Party, the members of the Alumni Association Board of Governors, and the members of the Board of Directors. Welcome Special Assistant to Dean and Affiliate Faculty in Human Rights, Father Fernando Saldivar Jr. of the Society of Jesus. Welcome the Associate Deans, Amy Dudovitz, Jennifer Fan, Tristan Green, Janelle Roberts, and Linda Whitfield. Welcome Loyola Law School Chaplain Father Wayne Negretti of the Society of Jesus. Welcome member of the Board of Regents, Danny Lee. Welcome the members of the Board of Trustees, Brian Kabatek, Class of 1989, Michael Lawson and Catherine Nielsen. Welcome Vice President of Human Resources, Nancy Plusdrak, and Senior Vice President for Mission, John Sebastian. Welcome Dean Brietta Clark. Welcome Executive Vice President and Provost Kat Weaver. Welcome Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer, and CMO, CCO, John Kerala. Welcome to the commencement speaker, the Honorable Anthony D. Johnstone. Welcome the President of Loyola Marymount University, Thomas Poon. Welcome Chair-elect of the University Board of Trustees, Michelle Dean. Welcome Chair of the University Board of Trustees, Paul Viviano.
Good afternoon. I am Dean Brietta Clark. It is my honor to welcome you to the commencement exercises of Loyola Law School. I also welcome those who could not be with us today in person, but are watching via our webcast. As part of the university's recognition of our history, location, and our relationship to the indigenous communities in Los Angeles, we acknowledge the Tongva peoples as the traditional land caretakers of the Los Angeles Basin and Southern Channel Islands, and the presence of LMU on this traditional, ancestral, and unceded land. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live, learn, study, and create at LMU. Please stand for the national anthem performed by David Kim, Loyola Law School, Loyola Law School class of 2026, and then remain standing as Father Wayne Negrete of the Society of Jesus blesses this year's commencement class.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets reckless, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and of the brave.
Let us pause in silence, becoming aware of this present moment, trusting that God is lovingly embracing us. Loving and life-giving God, we praise you and we thank you for your constant action of bringing goodness out of evil, unity out of chaos, hope out of despair, and life out of death. We thank you today, Lord, for your presence and your action in the lives of our graduating LMU Loyola Law School students. You have graced them with a passion for knowledge and a resilience to excel in their studies and in their experiential learning amid our many global, social, and economic challenges, along with their own personal and family struggles. You have inspired them to search for truth, to uphold high ethical standards, to work for justice, and to respect the dignity of every person. O gentle Spirit, you have drawn them deeper into their unique legal professional calling, deeper into community, deeper into the meaning of life, and most of all, deeper into yourself. We also thank you for their loving parents and friends, their dedicated professors, administrators, and professional staff, and the generous benefactors of LMU Loyola Law School who have inspired, guided, and supported these graduating students. Gracious God, bless our graduates with personal fulfillment and professional success, with good physical and spiritual health, with loving and supporting spouses and life partners, family, friends, and colleagues. Bless them always with hearts full of action and full of joy. Remain close to them as they seek to bring hope to a fragmented world, to bring unity and reconciliation with all your creation, so that all may have life to the fullest. May all that you are accomplishing in them serve the common good and be for your greater glory. Amen.
Thank you, Father Negrete. Please be seated. Now please join me in acknowledging the Mace Bearer and Grand Marshal of the Academic Procession, Marjorie Williams, class of 2009. On behalf of LMU Loyola Law School, I would like to thank the parents, families, partners, children, and friends who could join us today for all you have contributed to our graduates' success. Now I want to take a moment to address our graduates. Law school is uniquely challenging, and graduating is a momentous accomplishment. I am so happy and proud to celebrate this important moment in your personal and professional journey with you. You have learned new things, tried new things, formed extraordinary connections, flowered and thrived in community. You've not only learned so much, you've taught us so much as well. To our evening students, you are the first graduates of our hybrid evening JD program. It's never easy to go first. But please know that with every challenge, you have helped make this program better. And you have impressed us all with your grace and your fortitude. I hope that looking back, you feel like this program enabled you to achieve your goals while balancing careers, families, and other important responsibilities. We are so proud of you. At LMU, we strive to be persons for others, and at the law school, attorneys for others. I'm so moved by how this class has embodied this principle. You have supported one another through the impact of historic wildfires, and you mobilized with the Loyola Anti-Racism Center to support Altadena and Los Angeles residents in the aftermath. You have advocated for anti-trafficking safeguards and resources during the LA 2028 Olympics. You have represented countless clients through the Loyola Social Justice Law Clinic. And in the last year and a half, we have all witnessed unprecedented attacks on the rule of law, the legal profession itself, and our most fundamental rights under the Constitution. Your first instinct has always been to ask how you can help those in our community who may be the most vulnerable. I am truly awed by what you have done as students, and I can't wait to see how you will grow, thrive, and serve as alumni. As you move forward into this next phase of your journey, I just want to share 3 wishes for you. First, don't lose the passion, the wonder, and the optimism and the power of law to advance justice that I know brought so many of you to law school in the first place. After you pass the bar, and you will pass the bar, you will have another intense learning curve as you learn a new job and forge new bonds among your colleagues. And of course, family and other responsibilities are ever present. A legal degree is absolutely a pathway for professional success and the betterment of our families. But never forget that you now have a powerful tool of justice that can transform lives. Our faculty have worked hard to make sure that you have the training and skills necessary to make the world a better place. And I hope you will all embrace the responsibility that accompanies this awesome power you now have, in whatever form this means to you. Second, I hope you center gratitude in all you do. Life is hard. Unfair things happen. And the injustice in the world can often feel intractable. One can suffer many, many losses before seeing meaningful change. And all of this can take a personal and a professional toll. But practicing gratitude for the gifts you have been given and for the people who have sacrificed for you, many of whom are with you today in person or spirit, they can help you both weather those hard times and discover moments of joy when you least expect it. Gratitude can help us manage stress that comes with the unique responsibilities lawyers have of working in service of others. And gratitude feeds compassion, and it reminds us to honor others' humanity. My final wish for you is to believe me when I tell you, You will forever be a part of our Loyola family. Today, you are joining an incredible group of alumni who are here to mentor and support you. And our faculty and staff remain eager to support you as needed, and we want to bring you back to campus as often as possible. So congratulations again, and thank you for all of the ways that you have enriched our community and for making this such a special moment. Congratulations to you. And now I am pleased to present Thomas Poon, the 17th president of Loyola Marymount University.
Thank you, Fritz B. Burns, Dean Brietta Clark, Executive Vice President and Provost Kat Weaver, Executive Vice President and COO John Coralla, members of the LMU Board of Trustees, Chair Paul Viviano, Chair-elect Michelle Dean, members of the LMU Board of Regents, members of the LMU Loyola Law School Board of Directors and Board of Governors, university leadership, faculty, staff, the Honorable Judge Johnstone, spouses, partners, children, parents, grandparents, siblings, extended family, friends, and the LMU Loyola Law School's phenomenal class of 2026. Welcome and congratulations. Today we celebrate so much more than the completion of a legal education. We celebrate years of discipline and sacrifice transformed into purpose. And we recognize this day for what it is. Joyful, for sure, but also sacred. Sacred because it gathers the people who made all this possible. Sacred because it honors the work. Sacred because it marks the moment when your education becomes an even deeper call to serve. To the families and friends here today, thank you. You lifted these graduates in ways that may never appear on a transcript. You encouraged them, listened to them, prayed for them, believed in them, and reminded them who they were when law school became all-consuming. This day belongs to you too. Class of 2026, you entered LMU Loyola Law School at a time when the world needs lawyers who can think clearly, argue honestly, listen deeply, and serve courageously. You learned doctrine and discipline while being challenged to reason carefully and champion relentlessly. You discovered that the law becomes more just when it is practiced with conscience and humility. And now, at a moment when the rule of law is being challenged, contested in courtrooms, and felt in the lives of real people, your work carries particular weight. You will not only be practitioners of the law, society needs you to be stewards of the law. The experience and insight that equipped you to be those stewards originated right here at Loyola Law School. And as you go forward, know that you are not alone in this endeavor. From this day onward, you are a lifelong member of the LMU Loyola Law School family. Judges, leaders, advocates, mentors, super lawyers in every sense of the word, who will stand with you as you use your education in the service of justice. We are so proud of you, we believe in you, and we cannot wait to see and be part of the next chapter, and we cannot wait to see and be a part of the next chapter you will write for your clients, your profession, your communities, and this world. Congratulations, LMU Loyola Law School class of 2026.
Thank you, President Poon. At this time, I ask you to join me in acknowledging one of the most valuable assets of Loyola Law School, its nationally and internationally renowned faculty. Every year, members of the graduating class from the day and evening divisions present the Excellence in Teaching Award to an outstanding professor. Today, it is my honor to announce that the graduates of the day division are proud to present this year's award to Professor Amy Motomura. The graduates of the evening division are proud to present this year's Excellence in Teaching Award to Professor Catherine Pratt. The St. Thomas More Law Honor Society created the David P. Leonard Memorial Faculty Service Award for outstanding service and dedication to Loyola Law School and its students. In keeping with this tradition, I am pleased to recognize Professor Nadine Tan. It is now my joy and pleasure to introduce the student speaker from graduate programs, Singaver Aston.
We are graduating at a time when many people don't feel protected by the law, especially immigrants, minorities, the LGBTQ+ community, women, and those who are too often left without a voice. And it's easy to look away, to focus on our own lives, to tell ourselves someone else will deal with it. But I don't think we have that luxury. There are people who know the law exists, but they don't believe it exists for them. Maybe that's the problem. Before people care about the law, they need to feel like they belong under it. Because for some people, this is not abstract. It's their daily reality. I know what it feels like when your identity makes things harder, even if no one says it out loud. And I know what it feels like when someone chooses to treat you with dignity anyway. That difference stays with you. So, for me, being a lawyer is not about just success. It's about responsibility. The responsibility to notice who is being ignored and question things that feel normal but aren't right. Not in a dramatic way, just consistently, quietly. Before I end, I want to say thank you to Loyola for creating a space where people like me didn't have to hide who they are, and to anyone who has ever felt out of space. You know what I mean when I say this? It matters more than people realize when someone simply treats you like you belong. That's what I want to carry forward into this profession. So, wherever we go after today, let's be the kind of lawyers who don't wait to be asked to care, who don't wait to be told something is wrong, who don't make people fight just to feel like they belong. Let's notice sooner, let's question more, let's be the kind of lawyers who make people feel like the law was written for them too. Not someday, but when it matters most. Spas, memnun, danke, gracias, grazie, teşekkür ederim, and thank you.
Thank you, Singaver. It is now my pleasure to introduce the student speaker from the evening division, Carrie Cox.
As Marissa Tomei said in My Cousin Vinny, it is a fact. It is a fact that we are Juris Doctor graduates. Yay! For those of us who are in the evening program, we are Loyola's first ever hybrid program. And we have endearingly been called this program's guinea pigs. And I must say, we rocked it. Some of us are going into prestigious big law. Some of us are working for the Department of Justice. Some of us will be attorneys in aerospace, tax, and tech. And others of us are helping the community through nonprofits. And yes, one of us is even a future Olympian. Be proud of your accomplishments. It was a lot of work to get to where we are today. While in law school, we discovered the sheer panic of a missing question stem on a final. We took civil procedure as a first semester class when many of us knew nothing about the law. And by the way, we learned to never guess the content of a final. We were always wrong. We also learned more than we ever wanted to know about the theft from the person of another, the infamous dog and fanny pack. And then we learned about business through the eyes of the entrepreneur, Kermit the Frog, and his often risky business associate, Fozzie the Bear. And we did all of this while many of us were balancing full-time work and caring for family. Additionally, many of us had amazing opportunities to serve in a clinic. We joined a competitive team. We wrote for the law review. We externed or we interned. Some of us served in clinics helping the people in our community with conflicts, taxes, education, and criminal justice. Others of us excelled in transactional, trial, and appellate competitions. From best brief, we shone alongside the best of them, and we made a difference. We also played. We enjoyed food and drinks after late night finals. We went to hockey and baseball games with each other, and some of us even got to travel. We went to New York for competitions, San Francisco on our school's first ever tech trip. Thank you, Dean Clark, Professor Maynard, and Professor Kong. And some of us traveled as school ambassadors to various locations to find the next generation of Loyola attorneys. We've seen a lot of change over the last 4 years. We've introduced children into the world. We've said goodbye to loved ones. We've celebrated marriages, and we've watched our world get smaller as we have seen our friends and family thrust into new conflicts and challenges. But don't lose hope, though. As Professor Grossi said this spring semester, I'm working on it. And I urge all of us to work on it. God bless, and may we go forth in the service of faith and the promotion of justice. Congratulations to the Loyola Law School graduating class of 2026.
Thank you, Carrie. At this time, I ask you to join me in welcoming the student speaker from the Day Division, Dustin Essex.
I am honored to speak in front of this incredible group of people, commemorating our profound accomplishment. One of my first impressions as a new law school student was just how smart and hardworking all of you are. This environment has fostered growth and determination for me in a way that I could not imagine 3 years ago. Like many of us, when I was a child, I wanted to be a lawyer. But for me, drug addiction stole that dream for many years. By the time I was 22, I had been incarcerated, overdosed, attempted suicide, dropped out of high school, and been unhoused. The following 8 years may have been even worse, because I hurt every person who had the misfortune of loving me. When I was growing up, my father would tell me, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Well, maybe by the 108th time, I decided I would try to stay up for a while. In 2018, I received the grace that my family had been hoping and praying for many years. I checked into a residential drug treatment center one more time, knowing that this attempt would fail too, just like every attempt before. But a window of willingness opened, the same window that had opened the first time I tried to get sober when I was 15 years old. This time, I knew that the window might snap shut again soon, and I better do something while I had the chance. So I stepped all the way through, and I sat all the way down, and I said, I will do anything. Please, help me. I've been clean and sober ever since. My message is this: hope, change, and redemption are possible for anyone, anytime. We are not defined in this life by the biggest mistake we have ever made or by the worst thing we have ever done. Central to my transformation is a deep-rooted belief that I have a purpose and that it is to help other people. As I got well and began college, I realized that my personal experience, passion, and intellect made me perfectly suited for the law, where I can use those things to help other people. When I applied to attend law school at Loyola, I disclosed the same things that I've shared with you today, and the school welcomed me with open arms. I was not sure what to expect starting law school. I heard that it would be competitive and stressful and involve a lot of reading. It was certainly stressful at times, and professors absolutely assigned a lot of reading. I learned that the amount of reading that you actually do is more of a choose-your-own-adventure. But competitive was not my experience. In fact, it was quite the opposite. My favorite thing about law school has been all of you. Time and time again, I experienced a degree of collaboration and unwavering support from my classmates that is remarkable, considering the pressure that we were all under and considering the number of type A personalities sitting here today. As we studied together for our civil procedure and criminal law exams, we also talked about our lives and our dreams and the reasons that we wanted to become lawyers. In the 3 years that we've been together, we have cheered each other on as we've become leaders in student organizations and law reviews. We have celebrated each other's wins in court and after job offers, and we've commiserated together when law firms or government agencies have made the horrendous decision not to hire one of us. We've been to each other's birthday parties and weddings, and individually, yet very much together, we have undergone profound transformations. You and the people sitting next to you today are the future leaders of the legal world in Los Angeles. We will become partners at law firms, lead counsel for major corporations, politicians, appointed government officials, judges, law professors, and public defenders. 5, 10, and 20 years from now, we will call on each other for guidance in the areas of law where we have gained expertise. Throughout our careers, we will be the first phone call that somebody makes when something horrible has happened and they need help. As lawyers, we will be in a unique position to effect profound goodness on the world around us. And there will be hurdles. Professor Kennedy often says, if you think law school is hard, just wait for the first 5 years of practice. We will make mistakes, some big, some small. What is important is that we continue to learn and grow, that we continue to strive to be our best. At the end of our 1L year, Professor Tan, my legal writing professor, gave each of her students business cards that said, blank, because I said I would. On mine, I wrote that I would keep pushing forward, no matter what, because I said I would. And I believe in each and every one of you to do the same. And please, if you fall 7 times, stand up 8.
Thank you, Dustin, and thank you so much to all of our amazing student speakers. I would now like to introduce Professor of Law, Justin Levitt.
So hello, and congratulations, class of 2026. And congratulations, family and friends and loved ones, class of 2026. This is your ceremony too. We've heard a lot of really moving and tremendously wonderful remarks already, and I want to say you're in for another treat. I have the profound privilege of introducing the Honorable Anthony Johnstone of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. For 12 years, I knew Judge Johnstone as a friend and as a faculty colleague at the University of Montana. As a leader and scholar of constitutional law, of legislation and the courts, and most notably to me, of the law of democracy. That topic's having a moment right now. But Montana has been building better ways to do democracy for over a century. California actually copied quite a bit from Montana. And frankly, we could learn a little more still. Judge Johnstone helped us understand and helps us understand still that landscape within the state and nationwide. But he didn't just explain, he acted. In private practice, one of his first big cases was a very big swing at reforming Montana's overburdened indigent defense system. His passion for public service led him to the Montana Department of Justice and to a post as the state solicitor, including litigating some of the same democracy issues he'd later teach. When he was nominated for the bench, a very impressive, very diverse, very bipartisan list of notables lined up in support. But I tell you what, the letters that warmed my heart the most were the ones from his law students and from his law school classmates. That's right. Some of you will be writing fancy letters of support for the people sitting next to you right now. Some of you will be asking for fancy letters of support from the people sitting next to you right now. And I'm going to ask for your support right at the moment, for someone who unfailingly offers every litigant who appears before him respect and who receives enormous respect in return, for someone as pragmatic as he is inspirational and as wise as he is kind. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to the very Honorable Anthony Johnstone.
Thank you, Professor Levitt, for the generous introduction. You know, Professor Levitt has made many distinguished contributions, as you know, to the law of democracy as a scholar and as a public servant. But I have to tell you, my favorite piece of his work is still posted on the wall of my old faculty office. It's an ingenious campaign disclaimer that's framed as a nutrition facts label. You remember? Yeah, okay, yeah, he remembers the piece. I'll give you the site if you want it. It's titled Democracy Facts, and it lists the financial ingredients of a political campaign, like the nutrients on a cereal box. I'm still waiting for it to catch on. It's genius. Well, Professor Poon, Dean Clark, Father Wayne, honored leadership of the university, and honored guests. thank you for this opportunity to celebrate the Loyola Law School class of 2026. Faculty and staff, thank you for your dedication in developing these students into lawyers. Special congratulations to Professors Motomura, Pratt, and Tan on your awards. And family and friends, all of you out there, thank you for the love, support, and yes, sacrifice that you've given these graduates over their lives, and especially these very intense last few years. You've made possible the measure of justice these graduates will bring into our world. And hearing from Sengavar, Kari, and Dustin, I know their work has already begun. What a beautiful day for a commencement. LMU is the rare campus that rivals my own scenic University of Montana Mountain campus in my hometown in Missoula. But I tell you, and hopefully some of you appreciate this, I'd trade it all right now to meet you downtown at the law school for a Langer's pastrami sandwich, if anyone's any takers. Our law schools are a lot alike, both mission-driven towards serving the underserved through clinical education and pro bono work. Montana's mission statement calls it preparing for the people-oriented practice of law, but I find the Jesuit-inflected forming lawyers for others to be a more elegant formulation. And this mission lives in the class of 2026. Thank you for the tens of thousands of hours you've provided in numerous people, many of whom have had nowhere else to turn. Our communities and our courts need you to fill these critical gaps in our legal system and to further its aspirations towards justice. So let me offer my first word of advice. Keep it up. I've been teaching law for 20 years and have been learning law for 30. But I've never learned as much as in my first 3 years of judging. This week, actually, I'll head up to San Francisco right after this to hear my 500th case. And from this work, I've learned lessons that I wish I knew when I was in your seats. Those lessons are actually what keeps me coming back into the classroom and campuses. One lesson, which you've already heard a little bit about today, is dignity. And I'd like to share a little more about that with you. Now, by dignity, I do not mean the esteem we hold for lawyers or courts. Lawyer jokes aside, the bench and bar still are very much de Tocqueville's aristocracy in America, but that's not what I mean. And on our court, while I'm grateful to sit with dedicated colleagues in beautiful places over the hill in Pasadena and up the coast in San Francisco, which, by the way, are named for a Montanan, Chief Judge James Browning. That's not what I mean either, because as Judge Morrow said in the dedication of the Ninth Circuit's headquarters in San Francisco more than a century ago, injustice and wrong may emanate from a palace, while right and justice may come from a hovel. Esteem may support a legal system, but it cannot be its source. So if dignity matters to law, to what we do, we should ground it in something sturdier than the judgments of others. Let us try to do so in a way of thinking about dignity that is familiar to this community. I noted that President Poon recently observed that LMU is called to uphold the dignity of every person and serve faith and promote justice in all we do. This idea of dignity is a surprisingly modern formulation, though it bears ancient roots, braided from both religion and humanism. We should start with Francisco Suarez, a Jesuit scholastic who argued that natural dignity of persons made in the image of God requires self-rule, subject only to divine law. Later, the Enlightenment philosopher Immanuel Kant would ground dignity in a similar kind of dignity, an inner worth, and he grounded in human reason. But for most of human history, that dignity and the legal status that we associated with it was a high rank enjoyed by only a few. But this new form of human dignity promised to elevate us all to an equal rank. That's the kind of dignity that informs law's aspirations today. It took the terrors of 2 world wars to renew the conversation about modern dignity in our law. The philosopher Simone Weil observed in the midst of World War II, there is something sacred in every man, the whole of him. And in the aftermath, the nations formed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights around the inherent dignity and equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family. It found its way further into law, into American law, when Congress enacted the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It announced that its primary purpose is to solve the deprivation of personal dignity that surely accompanies denial of the right to enjoy equal treatment. And around the same time, the Supreme Court introduced dignity into constitutional doctrine, noting that the essential dignity and worth of every human being is at the concept of any decent system of ordered liberty. Dignity even made its way from these sources through the new Constitution of Puerto Rico into Montana's Constitution, that of my home state, the 1972 Constitution, which declares its equality guarantee with the dignity of the human being is inviolable. Okay, so if we all have dignity, what does it mean for law, for lawyering, for what we do together? The legal philosopher Jeremy Waldron puts it that law is committed to the protection and vindication of the high rank and dignity of the ordinary person. That means law allows ordinary people to act like officials, to engage in self-rule under law. And here I'm reminded again of my friend Professor Levitt's view in recent remarks of voting as an affirmation that each of us matters, that each of us belongs. In this light, human dignity requires the rule of law so that people can live their lives according to their purposes in community with others living their lives according to their purposes. Those purposes will conflict, of course, and when they do, we may call on courts to mediate. And there, as Waldron explains, equal dignity makes due process a moral imperative. A court must hear both sides with respect, attend to the evidence and arguments presented, and give reasons for its decision. Our commitment to dignity matters most when law's power must act on persons, not just for them. And it is because law is coercive, Waldron concludes, because its currency is ultimately life and death, prosperity and ruin, freedom and imprisonment, that its inherent commitment to dignity is so momentous. And this is where you come in. Honoring human dignity, these are the words of legal ethicist David Lubin, honoring human dignity means assuming that someone, no matter their legal circumstances, has a story that can be told in good faith. Dignity under law, therefore, requires lawyers. So litigants get to tell their story and argue their understandings of the law. Yet a lawyer must be more than a client's mouthpiece. And here dignity's demands get complicated. As lawyers, you will confront tensions between respecting a person's interests and respecting a person's worth. As Lubin says, honoring someone's dignity means honoring their being, not merely their willing. In other terms, Professor Robert Vischer, who's now president of the University of St. Thomas, says, a commitment to human dignity compels lawyers to widen their gaze, to remember that law serves the well-being of the human person, and thus the person must remain at the center of their work. It's very practical. The best advocates I see know this. They do more than translate their clients' claims into the language of the law. They also transform those claims into a vision of the law that respects the relationships we owe to each other. In my work as a judge, I try to do the same. So in becoming lawyers, you have a higher purpose than simple representation. Because you see, the dignity of your clients demands that you give voice to their lives, liberties, and pursuits, yet that dignity also calls on you to make those lives, liberties, and pursuits real under a rule of law that respects the equal dignity of others. And I am confident that Loyola has prepared you well for this calling. And as you commence your careers, let me leave you with this lesson. The true dignity of the law is not to be found in our marble courtrooms or our judges in their black robes or even our venerable Constitution or monumental legal codes. What truly dignifies our courts are the people we serve and the lawyers, you, who will give them a voice in the law. Congratulations and welcome to our profession. May your work continue the cause of human dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Johnstone. Now to Loyola Marymount University's Board of Trustees and President Poon. It is a great honor for me to present to you the candidates for the degrees of Master of Science in Legal Studies, Juris Doctor, Master of Laws in Taxation, Master of Laws, Juris Doctor and Master of Laws in Taxation, Juris Doctor and Master of Business Administration, and Doctor of Juridical Science. Will the candidates for these degrees please rise? These candidates have completed the prescribed course of study and are recommended by the faculty of the law school. Oh, no. Chair Viviano, would you like to join me? Chair of Trustees, Paul Viviano.
As the chair of Loyola Marymount University Board of Trustees, and on the recommendation of the Dean of Loyola Law School, in accordance with the Loyola Marymount University bylaws, President Poon, it is my pleasure to ask you to confer the degrees on these candidates.
By the virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the state of California and by the trustees of Loyola Marymount University, I now confer on each of you who is eligible one of the following degrees for which you have been recommended, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining to that degree. Master of Science in Legal Studies, Juris Doctor, Master of Laws in Taxation, Master of Laws, Juris Doctor and Master of Laws in Taxation, Juris Doctor and Master of Business Administration, Doctor of Juridical Science. In witness thereof, you will receive from the university a diploma signed by the respective officers of the university. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chair Viviano and President Poon. Will the candidates now please be seated? We are going to have you proceed by rows to the stage as directed by the ushers. I request that our guests remain seated for the duration of the presentation so that all may be able to view the proceedings. Each graduate will have a photograph taken receiving their diploma.
Thomas Spencer Anderson.
David Jin.
Zohal Kareem.
Dustin Essex.
Wendy Lillian Obispo.
Jangavar Astan.
Neela Javadi.
Adrian Simon.
Sarah Emily Lopez.
Kevin Michaels, Jenner Samaniego.
Mitchell Martinez.
Marina Purick.
Aaron E. Ruiz Prunchak.
Christine Gevorgian.
Griselda Diaz.
Vika Pogosian.
Jessica E. Flores.
Rowena Carpentanos Magallanes.
Miranda Nayeli Garcia.
Sreikev Kang.
Kayla M. Collins.
Sayan Abdikaranov.
Isabella R. Aslan.
Armin Gasparian.
Aurelia Tara Mary Rennick.
EJ Binay.
Dia Kalola Komolafe.
Salma Angelica Potente Castro.
Victoria Fedorova.
Rhoda Obi Adijwe.
Monica Garibian.
Aimidi Popo Samuel Ajiaye.
DNA Gonzalez Montes Dioca.
Natamaniela Musisoa.
Camilla Sanchez Aguilar.
Louis Zaka.
Natalie Gutteridge.
Nigweke Nasang Fangyong Chelsea.
Mustafa Hassan.
Jamie Rosenquist.
Armin Karazi.
Sarah Y. Kim.
Ali Zoghai.
Alyssa Mirage.
Rudy Al Rashid.
Simka Friedman.
Casper Ehoy Hansen.
Antonio Kiko.
Doa Farhat.
Argam Hakopian.
Zara Yimas Akol.
Glendon Bundarev.
Lisa Siciliano.
Mateo Doherty, presented by Firdaus Doherty, his father and cousin, Firdaus Doherty and Trishta Doherty.
Giovanna Gibelhini.
Sadana Gimire Betual.
Giacomo Porfumo.
Sophia Rose Torjaman. Thank you.
Francesco Billy.
Veronica M. Reynolds.
Alicia Martina Gesualdo.
Phelan Clifford.
Marari Larari.
Joe B. Kim.
Vera Chepelutz.
Stav Tour.
Cameron Willie James Abrams.
Alexander M. Nograyan, presented by aunt and sister Colette Nograyan and Mithra Shebani.
Michael James Casares.
Jack Smith Correa.
Isaiah Smith.
Luis E. Cuevas.
Richa Shah.
Shamir Quattlebaum.
Lauren Huang.
Ramin Gomshe.
Christian Thompson.
Nathan Hakaka.
Kyle Sullivan.
Justin I. Azizi.
William Zamer.
Justine Rachel Cohen.
Michael Anthony Capovilla Jr.
Isabella Ravai Saidara.
Clarissa Monet Brown.
Lauren F. Ibrahimian.
Rachel Bastinian.
Chloe Ruth Rad.
Sarah Michelle Morris.
Isaiah E. Benavides.
Chi Yu Bay.
Anjana Pamela Renteria.
Rahul Arakiaraj.
Lisette Nuno.
Sabrina Marie Burgess Garrett.
Citlali Guadalupe Nunez.
Anna Dodge. Imani Nicole Williams.
Maria Martinez Rojas.
Cole Chandler.
Colleen E. McLean.
Clara Rihanna Morones. Jose Manuel Hernandez Jr.
Isabella Rose Barajas.
Justin Torbati.
Chelsea Gonzalez.
Salman Salaji.
Cecia El Mejia.
Anthony Raymond Rivero.
Kaylin Tran.
Timothy Pruden.
Kim Tuin Hung.
Lillian Claire Honrubia.
Daphne Adams.
Ashley Bowler.
Jorge Cubillos.
Maya Domozetska.
Christopher Yalda.
Athena Q.
Roya Anga.
Jonathan Daniel Ortiz.
Eduardo Lopez Barahona.
Guadalupe Trejo.
Samantha Lopez Cueva.
Jordan Mason Stong.
Jennifer Benavides.
Jin Hong Julia Lee.
Amber Mei-Ling Reed.
Ayaka O. Kimura.
Dima Allison Bazzi.
I Ben Kim.
Jasleen Love Munsalud.
Tia Miyoko Lexington.
Noel Francis Natividad Adinoff.
Christina Beck.
Amanda Perez.
Hayden Elizabeth Wild.
Joyce Ma.
Christian Colomaneras Reyes.
Karina Damien.
Megan A. Torres.
Maria Denisa Todoraki.
Elizabeth Woodley.
Catherine G. Taylor.
Danielle R. Munoz.
Chloe Virahanian.
Clarita Erica Clements.
Daliana Christine Hanau.
Tiffany Song.
Sonia Schendel.
Scarlett Zambada.
J.E. Wang.
Isabella Ree.
Maria Isabella B. Primavera.
Michael Chen.
Christina Bella Amirian.
Daniel Jude.
Katrina Maria Karaguzian.
John Henry Clark.
I'm sorry? Rafi? Rafi. Can you help me with this? Yeah, sorry. Presented by. Yeah, can you help me with this?
Talia Rose Shahinian, presented by Father Rafi Shahinian.
Ian Shaw.
Georgina Ani Gregorian.
Michael Evanchek.
Hakop Pelavjian.
Elijah Samael Blankenfleur.
Ryan Murphy.
Nicholas Poon.
Armand Malkassian.
Justin D. Davis.
Naran Apian.
Pascal Yamakawa.
Jillian Lee Alson Goko.
Jessica N. Williams.
Ling Jin.
Taryn A. Lind.
Sitong Chen.
Natalie Kassar.
Mary Alaberkian.
Zaina Alajlani.
Zarina J. William Samuel.
Hannah Ebrun.
Marguerite Alberts.
Andres Rafael Arciniega.
Ninve Mansour.
Armand Sukassian.
Julie Dibb.
Ari John Sufer.
Cole C. Cartledge.
William John Frapont.
Megan Termechi Halavi.
Evan Alexander Scott.
Diana Gregorian.
Anthony Matanios Abdulatif.
Alida L. Minas.
Stefanos Koutsos.
Lilith Arutsamian.
Grace Antoinette Voisom.
London Olivia Victoria Elizabeth Davis.
Angela Chazikian.
Jacqueline Oksana Yapkowitz.
Bella Kirakosian.
Sareen Jamkosian.
Roz Pirka Cohen.
Eunice Hannah Song.
Laurent Emma Kanjian.
Tiffany Dong.
Ani Christine Tarakchian.
Jennifer Montañez.
Carlene Adoyan.
Jacqueline Rivas.
Anne Marie Kenny.
Stephanie Marie Hernandez.
Naomi Edelman Felix.
Vivian Quang.
Anthony J. Antonian.
Vanessa Rose D'Angelo.
Fiona Truong.
Camila Naut.
Caleb J. Eustace.
Mario Ives Vargas Cortez.
Virgin Kiababchian, presented by cousin and sister Mariana Bertikian and Lilit Kiababchian.
Comer Woodward Wadzik IV.
Cade Schobel.
Evan Greenwald. Daniel Antonio D'Amico.
Ethan McHale, presented by cousin Daniela McHale Fard.
Dylan Corona.
Mariah L. Taylor.
Jacob Leanman.
Paige Alexandra Hewlett.
Sebastian Duarte.
Amanda H. Stockard.
Patrick Dibb.
Naima Mon.
Dylan Fisher.
Gianmarco Cordano.
Marcello Chun Nalati.
Ryan Nikravish, presented by uncle, cousin, and aunt Joseph Lavi, Jacob A. Sanandaji, and Azadeh Sagian.
Sophie Talia Rabar. Quinn Smith.
Levone D. Donabadian.
Sabrina S. Yadidi.
Vahe Arakelian.
Tanika R. Smith.
Amanda Skinner, presented by mother Megan White Skinner.
Mandy Williams.
Belle Benavente.
Colin Brumley.
Victoria Morgan de la Mora.
Astrid A. Hernandez.
William James Zimmerman.
Julie Morales.
Sean Mastov.
Skylar Moore.
Jeffrey Alexander Mays.
Susie S. Park.
Mohammed Ali Beul.
Carly Morales.
Lisette Magana.
Gabrielle Jensen Etum.
Christine Kachaturians.
Chloe B. Kayumjun.
Elizabeth C. Corrado.
Paige McKenna Tuttle.
Hannah L. Tuckman.
Mina L. Sharegi.
Brianna Huracha Quiros.
Adriana Villela.
Hannah Waldman, presented by Mother and Father, Rebecca Waldman and Todd Waldman.
Nicole Abnous.
Gabriella Sufarian, presented by cousin Sharon Niku.
Jonathan Joshua Hay.
Where's your card? Where's your card?
Daphne Kim.
Samantha Zucker.
Card. Jacqueline Galliano.
Phoebe Sanders.
Julia G. Mundahall.
Kevin Bernstein.
Timothy Scott Brewster.
Emily Eileen Webb.
Lauren Lavardiere.
Mary Ellen Jebbia.
Haley Lane.
Vanessa Michelle Johnson.
Alexander Mulroney.
Sarah Emily Soriano.
Diana Vera.
Jessica Moore.
Carrie Cox.
Paul L. Simpson.
Elise Garrett, presented by brother Stephen Garrett.
Brendan A. Bear. Savannah Carrera.
Taylor Maria Moana Merrill.
Alika Louise M. Valera.
Christina Conrad.
Ariana Isabel Soria.
Sydney Cunningham Canzano.
Caroline Bassam Batar.
Sarah Elizabeth Swenson.
Brendan Sweeney.
Sona Jacobian.
Reina Valencia Escabel.
Alex H. Gross.
Francesca Sophie Compagnoni de Roche.
Mallory Keelan Crispin.
Avery Cope.
Alyssa Jean Winooski. Brianna Eva Curry Gill. Reese Lorraine Aglahi Jueta.
Morupe Aladiwara Adio.
Victoria Robles.
Iman Abdullah Alazab.
Cristal Anguiano.
William Theodore Hunter.
Layla Etashvini.
Dan Chun Chu.
Nicole Cooper.
Nicholas Paquero. Star Williams.
Navroop Mon.
David Randall.
Eileen Kim.
Luke Banda.
Kiana Asemonfar.
Montana Eliza Evans.
Madeline Kathleen Kale.
Tali Elena Braun.
Olivia R. Barnes.
Madeline B. Prokop.
Anna Isabel Correa.
Karin Hamarzumian.
Sarnell Jean Antabian.
Do Young Park.
Marasia Ariel Bray.
Kira Escobar.
Sarah F. Haile.
Nicole Allison Cremat.
Mohammed Idris Tawakol.
Taj Williamson.
Charlotte A. Taormina.
Alexander Richardson.
Kimia Michelle Samadian.
Ifunaya C. Ungumba.
Savannah Grace Minazian.
Karang Jing.
Eamon Taki. Kirsten Nicole G. Hardeen. Omar Mustafa Al-Samari. Alexis Suhu. Jaeyoung Jin. Eric Harper. Paul Choi. Jacob Yusefian, presented by Sister Rebecca Jacobson.
Okay. Class of 2026, please stand. You are now graduates of Loyola Law School. It is my honor to ask you to move your tassels to the left side of your mortarboard. Can I ask all of our guests, please join us in congratulating this class of 2026. We thank you all for sharing this day with us. Our heartfelt congratulations and ongoing best wishes are with you. And for the last time, I get to say, class is dismissed. Congratulations.